There was a study which showed that your likelihood of orgasm correlated with your waist circumference.
There's something to this, like health stuff.
Definitely. And the more you get those feel-good outcomes, the more you want to do it.
Like I would say for most people, when they get fitter, get stronger, get healthier, lose weight, they have higher levels of self-esteem and self-confidence and probably have just got a higher sex drive.
It wasn't like you're just going to have more sex. You're going to have better sex.
Yeah, I know some people go as far as like booking sex into their week.
You know, once you've got kids, it is a bit like, we literally have to be strategic about this because if it's a nap time, I don't know when it's going to be.
You do want some like spontaneity in your life, don't you? But then like as you just get more and more responsibilities, you kind of have to create more structure and order.
The reason that I want to do this is because like me and my husband haven't been intimate for 3 years. I don't feel like he wants me anymore because I look like this.
I never want to give like relationship advice ever because I just always think people that do that end up splitting up. But I think a lot of it is just like... Hi, I'm Jaymie.
And I'm Stacey.
And this is the Body Smart Podcast.
And today we are here to talk about relationships.
Oof.
Yeah, it's a big one. We were like, oh my gosh, this is a rabbit hole. Where do we even go? But it is one of those things that we get our clients talk to us about all the time. And I wouldn't say it's even like question we get asked because it's the kind of thing you have to have like that relationship of trust with a client for quite a while before they open up about this kind of stuff. But it is so common that when somebody in a relationship is trying to get healthy or make changes to their life, there is a little bit of friction potentially when the other person is not on the same page.
Yeah. I don't even think it's a little bit of friction. I think it's a lot of friction. And it makes it the difference of I've seen it with clients whose partners get on board and help them and not is like night and day. And for me, like I've always had like a lot of love and admiration for the fellas out there and the guys that are out there that really, you know, they don't get it fully. Like they don't get it, but they see that their wife wants or the partner wants to try something and they just support it and they help out in all little ways. And those guys are getting the brownie points, you know what I mean? When they're doing some extra pre-tracked meals or they're taking a little bit of that load and just helping, being supportive, you know, makes a significant difference versus, you know, coming back on a Friday and there's 2 Domino's pizzas on the side. It's just, you're just making it harder and harder and harder. So it makes a real big difference. And
I don't think a lot of the time, like that example you gave, the 2 pizzas on the side, a lot of the time I think it is out of love because that's like, well, that's how I know it will relax her if she doesn't have to cook and I've thought about it ahead and she's had a busy day, she doesn't have to worry about it, it's sorted. It's coming from the right place a lot of the time, but it's just not that helpful when you've got goals and you then come in as the person trying to get healthy and see the pizza. You're so conflicted because you are like, oh my God, I really don't want to cook and there's an easy answer and thank you so much. But also now I've got to like...
There's 2,000 calories of pizza. Yeah, that's really tough. And I think that there's some times where I think men are maybe doing it from a place of insecurity where they're trying to maybe stop you losing weight, or they just think, oh, you're doing this next diet, why is this thing going to be any different? So there's those side of things as well. And then there's a genuine place, I think, with a lot of men of just like, they don't get it at all. Like they don't understand. And the reason they don't understand, because I've had like a couple of my friends who have never really struggled with weight, who are guys, and they were like, when I first started this business, they were like flabbergasted that there was even a market for this and people would even pay money for this. And I was like, I would say his name's Eddie. I was like, Eddie, but you just don't get it because it's not a struggle for you. Like it's not, I was like, then he got him to explain like something that he's struggling with. Like imagine someone came in and was able to solve that problem for you and coach you through that solution. And like he could get it in that sense because it's not a struggle for him. You know, the way we might talk in like detail around food or tracking or emotional management or managing your stress or whatever it is, like, yeah, he just doesn't necessarily see it. But if I were to sit down with Eddie and explain the struggles and the problems and why it's important and the steps that need to be taken and how we could support, I'm sure he would get on board. It's just that there's just a gap, I would say, in actually in education. So I think that's an opportunity for like a lot of women who want to get the partners more on board, is to really like even see it as like a journey together, like educate them to like help them help you. You know what I mean? Like they might get the pizzas, but maybe they wouldn't have done that if they knew that like that was going to ruin your calorie goal for the week. Maybe they might have made a homemade pizza or done something else that's got the same thought behind it, but it's just also going to also assist in your, you know, your weight loss goals or your health and fitness goals.
I think that's a really good way of putting it. Like you said, like get them educated on what you're trying to do, because it's almost like if you've got a kid who's got homework and you're supposed to help them with the homework but you don't understand the homework.
Yeah.
You're just like, you're trying your best. But
So it's the best way. It's actually the best way to learn something. The best way to learn something is to teach it. So if you were like, right, I need to understand this nutrition thing. I need to understand this training malarkey. Yeah, I need to get it all. I need to get it into my head. Teach it. Teach your husband. Teach your partner. Like that. Like if you can explain it to them and they're like, oh, I don't get it. You're gonna go, oh shit. Like how am I gonna get them? You're gonna have to think harder to explain it to them. And then when they get it, you both get it. And then if they still have self-sabotaging behaviours, well, fuck them. But,
but that is actually an exercise that we set for clients sometimes, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Like go and explain to your other half, like what is calorie deficit and how you're going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And then just going into more of like the nuances of it. So like, again, you know, you've got to, if something's been like a struggle for you for years or decades, but never really being a struggle for your partner. And I know it's like a lot like, oh, my husband can go on a diet and he loses 4 pounds in a week and he eats this, and this. And it's like, yeah, like the reason it's easier for men is men are often taller, heavier, more muscular. And as a byproduct, they burn more calories when they move. They burn more calories when they exercise. They can create a larger calorie deficit. So they can lose weight faster. They can create larger deficits. So yes, typically for men, it is easier.
And I do think it is a generalization, but I do think that there is a lot more kind of mindset struggle for women because emotional eating doesn't seem to affect the men that I know as much as the women that I know. Mm-hmm. The kind of perception that you have to look a certain way, and it is more of a thing now for guys, but I definitely think for like our generation and older, there's more pressure on women to look a certain way than like your average guy doesn't think, oh, I need to have a 6-pack. But your average woman does think I need to look really good in a dress or whatever.
And most guys can probably like diet pretty aggressively on like 2,200 calories a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Versus like that would be like a good maintenance calories for most women.
For an active woman.
For an active, most women, you know, like maybe like 18 to 22. So there's just a complete difference there. You know what I mean? Guys go down to 2,200 calories, ramp up their activity, don't really feel that hungry and start dropping weight fast. And you look at them and like, I hate my husband. Why is he able to do that? But it's just physiology, you know, at the end of the day. So like, again, their perceived struggle of that problem is the lens they will view it through will be very different than the lens that you view it through. But again, having that open conversation to help them understand and help them educate and be like, hey, this is like us getting paid different salaries and you keep taking me to like expensive restaurants and I keep going into debt and you keep going, oh, I've got loads of money. You know what I mean? It's the same way. But if they understand, they could be like, hey, oh, maybe when we go to restaurants, we'll go to a nice place still, but we'll match the bill off our salaries. So it's like a 70-30 split on pay. And you go, oh, okay, so now we both go to the restaurant. We both paid the same, even though your husband might have paid more or you might have paid more based off salaries. You know, you see what I mean? It's like it's the same sort of analogy.
That actually brings me on to the point of portion matching, which is slightly off topic, but I think is a real challenge, and it backs up this study that I found from Harvard, which was if your spouse is obese, you have a 37% chance of becoming obese. And I don't even think it's necessarily just people who are already overweight that have this struggle, but when you serve up your food and you serve up what your partner needs to eat and you serve yourself the same, you don't eat the same. But how many of us do that?
A lot of us do that, Me and Steph done that for ages, and she typically like wouldn't have breakfast, so she'd just eat 2 meals a day and I'd have 3. So kind of balance back out. But even now, as more time's gone on, she definitely portions less, and it's but again, you can do it like that. It's just calorie balance and energy balance, but
But if you are just doing it because it's like, oh, I've made 4 portions, there's a portion for me, a portion for my husband, portion for each kid, there we go. It is an easy way for your salaries, if you like, to be competing when they shouldn't be.
I don't even really see it as like a men versus women thing. I think it's just like a activity and size.
Individual,
like if there was a 6'5" woman and a 5'5" guy, and like they're just bigger people. They need more energy. They need more calories, and the calories, energy, same sort of thing. So that's kind of how I see it. Like you would give the bigger portion of food to the bigger person, and if your partner is bigger than you, as in like weighs more and is more active, they need more energy. They need more calories, and vice versa. And that like logically makes sense as well.
And so actually that's a really simple thing you can do if you are like, oh, my partner's just really not on board. I know I need to make some of these changes, but I've tried speaking to them and I'm just not getting anywhere. There are lots of things that you can do that don't need their help. And we'll talk about in a minute, like, it is easier if you have got their support and their buy-in and like physical, practical things they can help with. But even if they aren't on board, maybe you've had the conversation, they're not interested, whatever. Things like just checking your portions, you're not serving yourself the same.
Yeah.
Maybe like planning active stuff for the weekend slyly. So,
Yeah.
you know, like walking to the farmer's market or something rather than driving. Just so you're like, right, I am going to make my activity and my food a priority without making it a big thing, without making them feel like they have to go along. Because I think a lot of it as well is nobody likes being forced to do stuff.
Yeah.
And I often think when it's like, if you're the person that cooks and you're like, right, I'm going to eat healthy from now on, everyone else in the household is like, well, why should we have to just because you want to?
Yeah.
And particularly if you've been on countless diets before and those diets look like, well, we're just having like steamed vegetables, quinoa and chicken. Your family, like, you're going on another diet, you're joking me, because that means they're eating steamed vegetables, quinoa and chicken. And to be fair, I probably wouldn't be too pleased either if I didn't want to lose weight or like have this goal. So you don't have to eat like that is one thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if you are going to eat more healthily, you can batch cook your food if you want to eat separately and then cook them something else. I wouldn't recommend it. I would just recommend finding a way of making the things you all like to eat in a healthy way.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things you can do without kind of making your family or your partner feel like they're being forced down an avenue that they don't want to.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that comes back to that study that you just brought up. Like 37% is significant.
Yeah.
And there's that whole like famous saying, like you are the
sum of the five people
that you spend the most time
Yeah.
with. And you will probably spend the most time like with your partner, especially in like sort of your adult life. So it kind of makes sense that they're gonna rub off on you. It's actually probably one of the biggest decisions that you will make, who you choose as a sort of like life partner. Like they will have probably more of an impact on the trajectory of your life than anyone else. So, a lot of people are like, oh, maybe I'm with this person and they don't really value like health as much as me or whatever else. But I think that's always just an opportunity to sit down and have that conversation.
And it probably wasn't a conversation when you got together.
No.
Like you talking about all these other things. Maybe you talked about life goals, like, are we going to have kids? Where do we want to live?
Yeah.
Did you talk about where in my list of priorities is my health?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Probably not. No, I'm just like thinking, yeah, no. but it's if that's important to you and you want to bring that up, and again, it's we were speaking with Luke on one of the other podcasts. He was saying start with why, start with the mission. It's like, well, why is being healthy important to you, and then does your partner have the same values? And sometimes if it's not like getting healthy, sometimes can sound a bit like
It's a bit fluffy, isn't it?
Versus like, oh, I want to have energy so when our kids get older and they have grandkids, like we're still like the active, fit, parents and grandparents and kind of like enjoy our lives and have a great quality of life. And like if in order to pay into that retirement bucket now of energy, like we need to take steps with our health and fitness now. So having that conversation then becomes easier when you bring up other things like you said about like the healthy eating. It's like, oh, this is like a combined family mission. You know what I mean? These are our family values. Like we want to be healthy, like the majority of the time. So we make choices that are in alignment with that. So again, it's just a consistent more support around that.
I think it sounds all a bit awkward or like structured, having like, what are our family values? But I do think it's really important. And it's something, there's a lot of talk about in social media kind of influencer space of having maybe like a weekly debrief with your partner, or like they call it the Gottmans, who are like a big relationship couple. What's it called? Relationship counselor type couple.
Yeah.
They call it like the state of the nation talk, which I think is quite serious. But it's literally like, right, what's going on? What's going on for you? What's going on for me? Like, what do we need to work on this week? I'm not saying you have to do that every week, but maybe like...
Me and Steph do that. Like, not as formal as that, but like we will just like check in with each other. I will say if there's anything we need to apologize for the past week. So just like basically not letting anything that's like, it's just like a reflection exercise in a week. Like, was I short with you? Did something happen? And again, it's just like, instead of that becoming like a little thing that builds up and then the lid blows off like a shaken up Coke bottle, it just resets things back down. So, and then the other one is like, we just book things into the week. So like for me, especially because my schedule is just always like slammed, and I will only stop if I've got a reason to sort of stop. we'll make a point of like booking in fun for the week. And fun could just be going for a walk together, doing something of an evening, and just planning out the week a little bit. And it's been like a fantastic exercise for us in particular. I know we're going to get into this a little bit. I know some people go as far as like booking sex into their week, which I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah, but once you've got kids, it is a bit like, we literally have to be strategic about this, because if it's a nap time, I don't know when it's going to be.
Yeah, wild. It's tough, isn't it? Like there's that, like you do want some like spontaneity in your life, don't you? But then like as you just get more and more responsibilities, like you kind of have to create more structure and order, especially around something like sex, if you want to have it on a more regular basis or make a point of it, because you don't want to lose that sort of connection with your partner. But I think just having an exercise of like where you actually just sit down and trying, basically like that 20 to 30 minutes that me and Steph will spend doing that, we're just trying to like order our lives as two people, on like who are living together.
Which, when you say it like that, it's like, it's absolutely crazy that we try to order our lives without coordinating our diaries.
Yeah.
Like you and I sat down earlier to book in filming days for the rest of the year, and we've tried to do it over Messenger for like weeks.
Yeah.
And you literally have to sit down next to each other with both calendars up to do that. We do that at work. Why would it be weird to do that at home?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I think like when you've got, because I've seen other people who have got like 4 kids or like 5 kids, and I'm like, they run that like a strategical operation. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's run like a business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've got to get the kids here at this time. We're going to pick them up at this time. We're going to make the lunches here. And I'm like, you're running that like a business. You know what I mean? And people know who have got like lots of kids and lots of responsibilities. The second you don't plan and are organized and don't create order, you quickly tip into chaos. And I think so sometimes with your partner, it's just kind of like, it'll be okay. They're still there, and I just...
Or there's an assumed, like, of course they're on the same page. Like, you don't feel like after X many years of being together, you don't feel like stuff needs to be said.
Yeah, so we have this we got it in sales, really, but like we just use it for everything now, which is like, never assume. Never assume. Like, assumptions are dangerous, never assume. And then if anyone watched Reacher on Amazon, which is, what's he called?
Is it
Alan?
Jack Reacher?
No, Alan Richer. He's like a big 6'5" Jack guy that all the women love. He's in that series. He's like, assumptions kill. You know what I mean? Because it's like a little bit of like a war thing, but it's like, and I think assumptions are very dangerous. You know what I mean? Even though you know your partner really well, just ask.
Yeah.
Just remove the assumptions sometimes, and it just creates so much extra clarity.
Yeah. So obviously that's like, once you've got like this baseline clear of what it is that you're trying to achieve, having those like regular check-ins. But an exercise that I think is really helpful, and Reese and I do this like maybe once a year, not in terms of like health and fitness specifically, but if you just go on Google and put in like the Wheel of Life, you might need to put like life coaching. It's a tool that they use in life coaching, and it's basically got the 8 different areas of your life. And we just found it like really useful, especially when in times when like maybe work was really hectic for one of us, or like one of our families were having loads of dramas. You end up with like, instead of 8 sections of your life being balanced, you've got all your energy going into one, and then like nothing left for the other stuff.
Yeah.
So the areas are health and fitness, money, career, social and friends, love/family/kids, personal growth, hobbies and fun, and spirituality. And actually, if you list those all off, it sounds a lot, but if you took one of those things away, it does mean you haven't got as much to give in the others in a lot of sense. So it's a good way to just like stand back and think like, are we in balance? And if there are areas where you think on a scale of 1 to 10, am I happy with that area of my life? And maybe it's less than a 5.
Yeah.
You can then say to your partner, do you know what, I really want to work on our finances. Like, can we like take some steps together? What can we do? And this might be the point where you say, actually, my health is something that I really want to work on. Yeah. And then it's not like I need your help for this one thing. It's like us as a team, like how are we going to support each other and where we want our lives to be more balanced.
Do you think, because I'm thinking about like the fact that you have these conversations with Reese and I would have them with Steph. Do you think this is like abnormal to an extent?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just really thinking of like many of my other friends who are in like relationships or long-term relationships, especially older, like people who I don't know, like 50s, 60s, said like even like mid 60s, like the dichotomy of their relationship to an extent is it works. And I think that's the thing is like you can see other people who have got relationships that are nothing like yours and are still successful. And that's because success in my eyes is different to everyone. I think there's some through lines of what a healthy relationship is, but I think some people just don't have that level of communication with the partner. And I think sometimes from speaking with a lot of clients, they want to have that communication with the husband or partner, but it's just like, it just feels like it's off the table.
Yeah, I would say it's something that we've worked at because this is my job, but also it's always been an interest of mine. You know, like I'm very big into yoga philosophy and like that kind of different way of thinking about things and being very open to emotions and like self-awareness. Rita's like a military man.
Yeah.
And his idea when we got together, he was like, I'm going to be open-minded. I'm going to go on a yoga retreat with you. And he did, and he enjoyed it. But he's like, okay, I've done my open-minded thing now. Thank you.
I'm done. Yeah, I've done this one thing, and it's over.
So it's been a journey for us. And he will openly be like, I don't get it. I'm like, it's cool that you want to do this, some of these things. He's like, I don't get it, but if it makes you happy, we'll do it. Mm-hmm. And that is not what I would love. I would love him to be like, yes, I really want to work on my spirituality too. Yeah. But he's him and I'm me. And it's part of that, like respecting each other. I respect him enough to not be like, well, you have to have a goal against your spirituality. And I'm not going to say that, but he also respects me enough to be like, okay, you want to do this thing? Like, cool, let's give it a go. Mm-hmm. So it's like presenting it in a way where I'm not going to force you into anything, but would you mind like, can we give this a go? Because it means a lot to me. Yeah. That's how we've kind of worked to this point.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's I never want to give like relationship advice ever about, because I just always think people that do that end up splitting up. It's just, but I think a lot of it is just like uncommunicated expectations. I think is where frustration comes up. I think that's the same in like leadership roles and management roles. Is like these uncommunicated expectations that just don't get passed through, and I think that happens a lot in relationships. Like you have this want for your partner, but you don't tell them, and you get frustrated at them for not doing the thing that you want, even though you've maybe not properly communicated it. And
I think as well, because there is that level of connection compared to everyone else in the world, you're like, but this person gets me. They should get it. I shouldn't have to tell them. But you still do have to tell them. Yeah. So that's one tool that you can use. And I think if, you do face a little bit of resistance, it's really important to understand where that comes from, because from experience with clients like opening up to me, a lot of the time it comes from an insecurity on the person. So if you're the person who's like, no, do you know what? I want to start lifting weights, getting strong, being healthy, want to lose a little bit of weight, and you talk to your partner about it and they're dismissive or not supportive, there can be a lot going on under the surface, and it can be easy to react to be like, you're so selfish. Why don't you care about me? Why don't you want to help me? But if you can take yourself out of that like reactionary state and just think like, why would they maybe feel threatened by this? Or like when I say these things, what might they actually hear? Because people don't hear the words that we say a lot of the time.
Yeah, that was funny before. Someone said something and we both took a completely different thing from it. Yeah. And I always find that fascinating. It's like you can be at the same show or the same concert and have two completely different experiences based off your
perception.
Yeah, your perception.
Yeah. So I think it's really important to just try and put yourself in their shoes and get curious of like, is it because your partner's worried that maybe you're going to outgrow them, or you're not going to find them attractive anymore because you're going to become like this different version of you that's going to want someone else, or maybe, what you do together is a lot around like, we go out on date nights, we eat really nice meals, we sit in front of the TV and chill and have popcorn. Mm-hmm. And your partner's like, well, they're not going to want to do any of that stuff with me anymore. Like, that's our life. So there's a lot of insecurities that can be behind this. And I think even if you don't feel comfortable having those conversations and asking, if you can at least maybe think, well, maybe like that might be why there's a bit of resistance, it allows you to say, like, I'm not going to take this personally. Like, I understand that you feel like you don't want to be involved. That's fine. I can do my own thing. And if you do feel like you can have that conversation, then, reassuring them, bringing them along on the journey with you can make a huge difference.
Yeah, I agree. It's, I think at the core of it all, it's just like good communication.
Yeah.
Yeah, and open communication.
Yeah.
To try and get some support.
On that note of like getting support, if you haven't got a partner who is supporting you, like find someone else. It doesn't not find another partner. Find someone else that can support you.
Yeah.
So it is really hard to tackle this on your own. And if you haven't got a supportive partner, maybe confide in your sister or your mum or your best friend, or join an online group or get a coach.
Yeah.
Someone that you can, in those moments where you need somebody to be in your corner cheering for you, you've got that person.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you went to like a CrossFit class and there's like 10 other guys or girls there who are all like in really great shape, and you just chat to them about like what they're doing on the weekend, or like what they're up to, or what they eat, what they say will be so wildly different than what you're used to if you've never kind of spent time around like 10 really fit and healthy people. And just as proxy as, just like we're saying about the 37% chance of you becoming overweight or obese if your partner is, you start spending time around these other people that you can talk about these different ideas or different things or what they're up to or how they're being active, or you join a support group or you get coaching. Like your perception changes very quickly because you're getting support from other people and they're encouraging the positive behaviors that you want to start
And
taking action on.
normalizing it as well.
And normalize it as well, yeah. Like it's not, there's like so many people, it's like, oh, it was just normal to get a takeaway on a Wednesday and a Saturday. It was just normal to do that every week. And it's like normal for you. You know what I mean? But like so you have to start like breaking these beliefs. Like, oh, that doesn't have to be normal for you. You can change that behavior. Oh, these 10 people at CrossFit don't do that. They eat healthy meals and then they enjoy like eating out and stuff. But like, you know what I mean? Like it just starts to like be normalize a different normal.
Yeah. A new normal.
Right? A new normal.
Yeah.
And yeah, like that's a healthy way to break your own beliefs around, how you've maybe been living, especially if you're looking to make a positive change.
And particularly if a lot of your leisure time is spent around going out for dinner, getting takeouts, chilling in the house, it can feel really hard to just be saying no all the time. So finding things to get you out of that rhythm and that routine is quite important. Otherwise, it is a battle of willpower. And it won't. And we talk about, like set yourself up for success. If you are trying to like go against the tide constantly, it is going to be challenging. So this is why we would always advocate for like having those open conversations with not just your partner, but like your kids and just trying to make your environment and your team a bit more supportive. But if you can't, then like start shifting where you're spending some of your time.
Yeah. It's like Steph this morning got up at 6 to go to CrossFit. And I like went to bed like later than maybe I should have and done an extra bit of work. But like, cause she got up and I knew she was going to work out, like I didn't set an alarm for a little bit later. I just got up and ended up doing something myself as well. And it's just like, it does rub off on you. Like you got, like, when you come home from work and it's like, well, your partner's cooking a healthy meal instead of, cooking an unhealthy meal. It just like all those little things in terms of your environment, it makes it easier to just like succeed and maintain the result that you want. Like, hey, do you want to go for a walk? Sure. Instead of like, hey, do you want to watch an extra episode of Netflix? Nothing. I watch Netflix. You know what I mean? It's just not against all that, but it's just those. We talk a lot about like your environment having such a huge role on your success. It's like even the fact that like what's in the fridge, like what's your partner buying, what are they saying, what are they at? And it rubs off in a big way. And like you said, if you can't fully get what you need from them, start to be like, okay, like, have you had that conversation? Are they not willing to change? Are you happy with the fact that they're not willing to change? Cool. Can you get what you need then in terms of support, like you said, from other places?
Yeah. And what you just talked about, that ripple effect, even if they don't want to change, chances are if you start making these healthy changes, they will get the positive effects. So there was a really interesting study in the Obesity Journal, which was around this exact scenario where one person was making healthy changes and the other person was not interested, not involved at all.
Yeah.
So they followed 130 couples. The non-participating partners, so like they were not involved, they weren't trying, they lost an average of £3 at 3 months. So they lost £1 a month from doing nothing.
That's not surprising, yeah.
Because little things like if you are the one that cooks and you start making healthier meals, even if you just start by like reducing the amount of oil you use in all of your meals that you cook, it really adds up. Or you start saying like, do you want to go for a walk after dinner? Like most people will be like, yeah, all right. Or if they're not, you know, maybe 1 in 10 times they say, yeah, all right. And that's more than they would have done anyway.
Yeah.
So that positive ripple effect can be really helpful. And once that other person starts to see positive changes in you, they're going to be like, okay, well, she's feeling more confident. She's feeling more happy. Like, this is great. I'm going to be more supportive without you feeling like you're dragging them along because they've kind of seen the evidence. And if they start to feel it too, even better, even easier.
Yeah, it does have a ripple effect, and that's like a net positive thing for both people. I think I've spoken about her a couple of times. Anna came on who wanted to lose about 3 stone so she could start IVF. Yeah, and over the course of the next year, she lost just under 8 stone, which is it was like over £100. Which was, you know, insane to lose. Like, it's like an average of like £2 a week for a year straight. And then got pregnant. But one part I've not really spoken about too much is that her partner also lost about £45, just as proxy of the fact that like she was just being so on it. And he started doing more. Like, he started exercising about 4 months after she started, just because she was going, you know, doing so much. And just like, again, all the food that was being made in the house, it just like rubbed off. And then he just understood like food as a whole as well. And like, he would, you know, cook some food and weigh it out and measure it on MyFitnessPal. And he was even showing me, like, I didn't even notice, like, back then you can send recipes to your partner and I can instantly add it into MyFitnessPal. So it was just like all of the little bits taken out of it. But it just shows you like it has a knock-on effect. And I think she had a lot of friction in the beginning with him, with starting that. But then over time, you know, it can, like, there's a reason like people want to be healthy. Like, you have more energy, you feel better, you sleep better, you're less stressed. So, you know, when you start having all those benefits and someone else gets them, it's like, there's something to this, like health stuff.
Definitely. And the more you get those feel-good outcomes, the more you want to do it. In terms of doing stuff together as well, you mentioned like they started exercising together. I absolutely love going to the gym with Reese, and like we don't even like do the same workout. We're just in the same building together. But I just feel like, we're actually doing something for ourselves, but for each other, with each other. It just feels really special. And actually, there is a lot of research that show any couple that like take on physical challenges together, like going to the gym or doing like running or going to a dance class, they actually experience higher levels of satisfaction in their relationship and feel more in love. And it's not we're doing something together. It was shown it was literally the physiological arousal of like doing an activity with the person.
Yeah.
It's not the same as if you went to like a watercoloring class. Yeah,
it's a combined suffering. It's like one of the best things that's why. Like,
it's not suffering.
A combined struggle to an extent.
I don't know. Actually, I wonder after that episode with TJ if it's about like those release of those endorphins and dopamine and
with
oxytocin all at the same time with that one person.
Yeah, I think it's why, like, again, it's like another success lever of like CrossFit is like people are in there and they're like struggling together and then they're getting this like endorphin high off the back of it. And then there's the seeing like you're looking to the left of you and you're like, you're like out of breath and then that person's dying as well. And you're like, oh, they're struggling with me. And then there's a high five and a hug at the end. So there's all those oxytocin and, you know, all the different chemicals that we were speaking about with TJ are just like bouncing off. And you build strong relationships with those people because you're going through like a struggle together. And I think there's definitely to that where if you go hiking and climb the top of the mountain and it's difficult and you're helping each other and you get there together, or you go and do like a tough workout, you know, it's I feel like it's like a shared struggle to an extent. I actually think it's like and I'm not a parent, but I've seen a lot of new parents lately, and the amount of like respect and love that like both parents have had for just like them picking up the pieces when you're exhausted and then you picking up the pieces when they're exhausted and then seeing them with your kid. And it's like, you're both going through this like really difficult, like new season of your life together. And it's like really hard, but like on the other side, like, but it actually makes the relationship stronger in a lot of ways.
Yeah, definitely. But just want to make it clear, you don't have to suffer. You don't have to go to CrossFit and kill yourselves. You can just go for a hike. I really like going. Actually, we only ever do it when my brother's up because he's become obsessed with running. But whenever my brother comes to stay, we all go for a family run on a Saturday morning. There's a thing in the UK called Park Run, and it's just like a free 5K run in like the local park. I mean, we could just go for a 5K run on any day around any park, but because it's a thing, we go. And I just think it's really nice. Like, it is that bonding time. It's not a struggle. It's just a 5K run around a park.
Yeah.
But it's that thing where we're sharing something. There's a purpose for the day. Like, my son now, when we go past that park, he goes, running, Dan. Like, he knows, like, that's what we do. And it just becomes like a bit of a core memory for your relationship as well. So it can be something, if you have got one of those relationships where you think, well, like, our time together is chilling, going out for dinner, like, that shapes your time together. You can find things that maybe 5K might sound a stretch at the moment, but maybe like a hike around the park on another day might be a good place to start. And that can start to be like a bit of a structure for your week, where there are these things that you now do together that are different to your old life, but not like wildly, oh, we're now fitness freaks.
Yeah. I think it's always just about looking like what's one thing that you can do. Like, that's a step more than where you currently are, as small as it can be, and just like starting there. Yeah. Like, it's as simple as that. It doesn't like doing CrossFit classes together. Like, Steph's been trying to get me to go to CrossFit for like 5 years. It's still like a hard no.
Do you know what I'm trying to get Reese to at the moment? I've started doing Pilates Reformer. You tried it?
I would actually give that a go. It looks just like it'd break my back, but
it wouldn't. It's really. I find it really fun.
Yeah.
But it's just so intense in like, the muscle that you're working is like very high reps and very controlled, like time under tension. So it burns.
Yeah.
But because Reese has got like a bit of a bad back and like core issues and stuff, I'm like, we need to go. And he's like, yeah, okay, I would go. But it's like finding childcare because it's at 6:30 in the morning. Right. Can't just drop the kid at nursery, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's stuff like that. It can be fun, like new stuff you try together. It doesn't have to be crazy.
I think it can be anything. Yeah, it could be like literally if you guys don't go for a walk together.
Yeah.
Like, starting there. You know what I mean? It's like, again, like, what's that? And again, if you both work, like, and there's no time Monday to Friday, could you do it on Saturday morning? Could you do it like?
Yeah, and actually, if you've got a dog, one thing that I found we fell into the habit of a while ago was walking the dog became a chore that one of us had to do. Like, one of us had to take the bin out, one of us had to walk the dog, it became like a solo activity. And then we were like, hey, this is actually like half an hour that we could have together.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like dished out like another chore. It was like that's our time where we're going to go for a walk and actually speak to each other.
Yeah.
Which was nice.
Yeah, definitely. Like, me and Steph typically train on a Sunday together. But we'll like get a sauna and have some breakfast afterwards. And it just becomes like a bit of like a date morning sort of day and that type of stuff. So it's just making time, and it's finding what works for you and for your relationship as well.
Definitely.
But just weaving in a little bit more like health and activity and.
Yeah, but it can start small.
Yeah.
I did want to just touch on some of the other things that you might be able to convince your partner on getting on board for, because
I'm worried with what you're going to say right now.
Obviously, well, not obviously actually, but you know, the more you get healthy and feel like you've got more energy and feel maybe more confident in your body, the more likely you are to want to do more fun stuff together as a couple, including having a better sex life. And it is a sensitive subject for a lot of our clients, where some of them will openly say when they join, like, part of the reason that I want to do this is because, like, me and my husband haven't been intimate for 3 years. Or, you know, like, I don't feel like he wants me anymore because I look like this. I'm sure that isn't the case, but we build these stories in our head.
Yep.
And when you start to take action and feel like, no, I am getting stronger, I am feeling more confident in what I see in the mirror, all of that kind of inner, like, joy that you had in your relationship can come back. And I did do a bit of research because I was like, we've got so many anecdotal stories of clients that have told us this, but is there any science to it? Interestingly, there was a study in 2014 which showed that your likelihood of orgasm correlated with your waist circumference.
Wow.
So it wasn't like you're just going to have more sex. You're going to have better sex.
You're going to have, yeah.
So, I mean, there's that to drive you. But also what I found was a lot of the research was only done, as ever with female stuff, it was only done in women who have dysfunction. It wasn't just done in like, oh, here's like your average 100 women. Let's see what happens if they make these lifestyle changes, get stronger, get fitter, lose a bit of weight, and let's see if their lives improve. Of course, it's like, oh, we only do any research if it's something really bad. But what's interesting is they actually use 6 factors on this female dysfunction score. And in the studies, they looked at like overall, was there an improvement? And if you look at the overall, a lot of them were like, no, not really. But if you look at what I would say were the important ones, which was arousal, lubrication, orgasm, and satisfaction, they all improved. So you're like, well, I mean, I would be pretty happy with that. Desire and pain did not change with BMI, but I think that's often because there's a lot of other things going on with those two. But your actual experience gets better.
Yeah. I think as well, so I would only talk from like personal experience. Like if I was like 50 pounds overweight, I'd like to think in my head I would just like be able to rock the same sort of confidence. But like, I don't know. I don't know if I would. You know what I mean? So like,
I don't. Even when I'm like 5 pounds overweight, I don't feel as great.
Yeah, I mean, so like the one thing we've asked you for like several times is because you've lost 50 pounds yourself, was have you got any like before photos? And there's like 3 from like a side angle, like zoomed in over there. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, great. So, you know, like it just shows, doesn't it? Like, you know, it's not like some people get like, say like, oh, your goal shouldn't be like vanity based, you know, but like if you're trying to have a why, but like when people do look good, they feel good. You know, when you feel more confident, you walk your shoulders a little bit further back.
Yeah, and is it vain to want to have a closer connection with your partner and have a better sex life and be more satisfied? Is that vain? I don't think it is. I think that's like an important part of your life.
And does it even matter? You know what I mean? Like, if you want to look good, like, is that like a bad thing, like necessarily? But I think, like if people get themselves in really good shape and feel really confident and like don't want to turn the lights off when they have sex anymore because they feel confident in the body that they're in, like that's a positive thing. And surely that's only going to like positively impact the sex life and the relationship. So yeah, I mean, tough conversations to have and especially with how you're feeling about yourself. But like, yeah, I've got no doubt. Like I just spoke to some clients, especially with me being a guy, not that open about it. Some clients, very open about it.
I've literally had a client's husband thank me.
I mean, like I am. I'm great, you know, great for those guys, great for that woman as well. So it's, there's no doubt. And by the way, I'm sure there's always going to be the person who that's not the case for, and like that's amazing as well. But like I would say for most people, like when they get fitter, get stronger, get healthier, lose weight, they have higher levels of self-esteem and self-confidence because they're keeping a promises to themselves. They feel good, they look good, they've got high energy, and probably have just got a higher sex drive.
Yeah. So I just want to finish on a couple of practical things you can do if you're like, I am on this path. I do want to like get healthy, get fit, get strong, lose a bit of weight, but your partner isn't quite on the same page as you just now. So first up, have a bit of a heart-to-heart. It doesn't have to be sit down with the wheel of life. But like just say like, can we go for a walk and have a chat because there's something that's on my mind, and just share with them like why you're doing this. And if it is different to all the reasons you've tried before, like actually you've realised you're not getting any younger, you do need to look after your health. Maybe you've had a stern word from the doctor and you wanted to take this seriously, like tell them why it's different to any time before. And also explain like how you're going to do it. So if you are going to do it with a sustainable calorie deficit, like moving a bit more, weight training, like the sensible way that we would always advocate, great, explain it to them and get them to understand like this is what I'm going to be focusing on. And then ask for specific help, because generally saying, oh, I need your support, most people go like, yeah, okay. And then before you know it, they've just gone back to their lives. They've forgotten the conversation. You haven't actually specifically told them what support. So in a week's time, when you feel like they're not being supportive, if you go and bite their head off, they'll be like, what do you mean I haven't been supportive? I haven't done anything. And you're like, yeah, exactly. So, you know, things like specifically saying, can you pick the kids up on a Tuesday and Thursday so I can go to my class? Or when you cook, can you please use a tablespoon to measure the oil rather than just drizzling it on? Or on date nights, when we go out, can we pick restaurants where I can check the calories on the menu first? It's very specific things. And 90% of the time, I would say the person, if you ask them for something specific, they're like, yeah, cool. And that expectation is clear. Like you're not assuming that they're supporting you without them even knowing what they're supposed to be doing. And then finally, like just accept if they don't want to change. You do you. Like you can set boundaries. You can say no to things. You are in charge of your life. They might not like that. But that is the truth. And if you do want to change and it's really important to you, you can't let someone else, even if they're your life partner, hold you back from like everything that you can be and the best health that you deserve.
Completely agree.
So if you've listened to today's episode and you're ready, whether you've got your partner's support or not, to start making some healthy changes, then head over to episode 54 next for our top 10 tips to lose weight and keep it off.